All right, welcome to Big Rig Radio. This is episode 3 with Jared Schmidt. Jared, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Reese. Brady and I just went down into town to some Christmas shopping. I'm feeling pretty good. We've had a couple of days off, so just kind of relaxing, did a little skiing today. But no, it's definitely, we're in full tour mode right now, so it's nice being back on the road with the team, and yeah, it's feeling really good.
Awesome. Yeah, so give Jared a quick little introduction here. So Jared is one of my teammates on the Canadian ski cross team. He's got a couple podiums on the World Cup circuit in the last few years, and he also was one of the members who was chosen to represent Canada at the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games. And so Jared, first time on the podcast. First time on the official podcast, I guess we could say. But, just want to introduce you to the world and kind of start where you're from and a little bit about how you grew up.
Cool, yeah. Obviously, Hannah was on the podcast, I think the last one.
Yes.
But yeah, grew up with Hannah from a little town west of Ottawa called Dunrobin. But we grew up, went to school out there, spent the weekends, our summer, we spent doing canoe kayak, like Hannah mentioned, and our grandparents bought a place up at Mont Tremblant, and we kind of started going up there on the weekends, and that's kind of where I found my love for skiing. But went to high school in Ottawa, and then graduated high school. Was still skiing, not with Tremblant, but I was competing in FIS for the NCO team, the National Capital Outaouais team. So I was competing for them, just kind of sub-Quebec team level. And then I kind of was like, I was a little bit kind of stuck. The progression that I needed to make in Alpine was immense, and the expenses were really high. So I kind of was touring with the team a little bit, was helping coach kind of a little bit, mentor some of the younger athletes on the NCO team, and then I guess we kind of go into how I got into ski cross. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Let's hold off on that. Okay. Let's hang out when you're still in Ontario, growing up, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You were actually spent a lot of time near Ottawa too. So, I know you're pretty fluent in French, and have a lot of buddies who speak French when you were growing up.
Yeah, it was kind of cool actually growing up, being able to speak. Well, not being able to speak one language. I grew up speaking English, but in skiing, all my friends and my coaches were mostly French. So I had a lot of friends from Montreal that I met through skiing that spoke French, and I had some friends that only spoke French. So obviously, being friends with them, you can't not understand French and not speak the language if you don't learn it. So a lot of my French was learned through skiing, and I give skiing a lot of credit for that, because I wasn't great in school at French. I was never great with the writing and reading, but the verbal kind of side of things came naturally to me, just through learning through skiing, being coached and kind of hearing it and being like immersed in it, which was kind of cool.
Perfect. Yeah. So when you were growing up in high school and stuff like that, what kind of sports were you playing?
High school, I played, actually going through kind of elementary school, I was big into basketball. Played basketball all the way through high school, volleyball as well. Played a little bit of soccer. I was on the high school soccer team. A lot of other different. The canoe kayak obviously was another major one that our families actually still heavily involved in. My parents are both still involved in the canoe kayak side of things, which is fun because get to go home and play on the stand-up paddle boards and go out for a rip in the kayak. Growing up on the river in Ottawa was definitely a blessing, and I don't take that for granted at all, because it was pretty sweet having that right at your doorstep to go outside and be, I don't know, on the river and enjoying those things that most people don't get to experience living in the city. Or I know you probably got to experience quite a bit of that growing up in Chilliwack and Adams Lake.
Well, grew up in Cultus Lake, but then moved to Adams Lake, after I started actually moving to Calgary for the winters and stuff.
Yeah, so it was good. That whole, I think growing up, where I grew up has a lot to do with kind of the person I am today, and I know you kind of could probably speak a lot to that. But yeah, no, definitely very blessed to grow up where we did, and I think that's really cool. And we kind of take that, and we it's like a little chip on our shoulder, kind of a cool thing to grow up with.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so out east and stuff, like how far away were you skiing most of the time? Like, did you have to do a lot of traveling and also like I know when I grew up skiing, I was missing Fridays and sometimes Thursdays to either train or go to races and stuff. So was that kind of a similar thing for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, obviously out west, you have to travel quite a bit, but you're I guess it's probably similar in the east, but just the mountains aren't as big. They're mostly hills. But we would travel, um, yeah, 4 to 6 hours for some races. We'd go all the way out to Rimouski, like eastern Quebec. We'd have some races out there, and that required missing a lot of school as well. I didn't mention before, but in high school, I did my grade 9 and 10 years in regular high school, and then I switched over to like an alternative high school, which is more for like there was a few athletes in there, but more for like students that were kind of not interested in high school and trying to get their credits through whether it be co-op or other um, or just yeah kind of get finish their high school degrees. So I ended up graduating in the 4 years, but I was able to take that schoolwork with me because I was missing in grade 9 and 10. I was missing Thursday Fridays like I'm sure most ski racers are. But I was able to take that schoolwork with me and then graduate, and then I did an extra year after just to upgrade some courses. But the travel was a lot because we'd have races in Quebec one weekend, and we'd go all the way to Collingwood for another race the next weekend, and we were driving everywhere, and you're missing so much school and academics is hard to do when you're traveling that much and trying to compete.
So is there anything that you did or your parents did to like mitigate or like figure out missing that much school?
Yeah, like growing up, my mom, she's a teacher, so
Oh,
so that kind of helps. Yeah, she knew, or she didn't know a lot of the academics. She's a high school co-op teacher, so a lot of the same students that were in that alternative school were the type of students that she was teaching. So she kind of brought up the idea of me going to the alternate program, which was really helpful because but it sucked because a lot of my friends that were in my original high school, I kind of was a little bit distant from them, and I was anyways because of skiing. But having that kind of resource that you wouldn't have otherwise known about, or like they wouldn't have really kind of brought forth in regular high school. It was nice to have kind of that option to go and do that, and I ended up graduating with my year anyway. So I went to like whatever prom and grad with my high school. It was fun seeing those guys after like 2 years and seeing them in 2 years. And oh my God, Jared, you're still like, what's going on with you? And I was like, oh, I graduated. I just went to Banting and got my credits through there, and they were stoked to see me. So it was kind of cool. It was like a reunion, but also just like high school grad. It's pretty cool.
and so your parents are they into sports or what's their background in athletics?
Yeah, my mom growing up, well, actually, both my parents grew up in Northern Ontario, North Bay. My grandparents are from Sudbury originally, but well, my grandparents on my dad's side. They were raised, both of them were raised in North Bay, but they didn't meet each other until they moved to Ottawa, which is kind of funny. But they were both involved in sports at a young age. My mom, obviously, canoe kayak was one of her major events. She was a canoer for. I think she canoed for the Ontario team for a little bit, and then my dad as well. He was kind of into the more extreme like skateboarding, snowboarding, and windsurfing. He loves windsurfing, so he kind of and skiing obviously as well. So he grew fond of skiing, and there's a small ski hill in North Bay called Laurentian, I think it is. And they were spending like my grandfather tells me the story. The three brothers, they would just go and spend I don't know, all the time building jumps and doing flips and stuff at the local little tiny ski hill with the one pommel lift. Um, but yeah, so they grew up heavily involved in sports and moving into university and in their academic careers, they actually met each other playing ultimate frisbee. Like that was how they met. I think they're on the same team, and then or was volleyball or something. I don't know the exact story, but so sports, yeah, definitely heavily ingrained in the family, which is really cool because they got both Hannah and I involved in sports at a young age, so it was cool to have that kind of outlet for, or like we were just involved in sports so young. It's cool.
Sweet. And so the transformation that you did after high school there to move towards ski cross, can you talk about that a little bit? Kind of.
Yeah, I can move into that. So yeah, after high school, I kind of took that. It was about a year or two of I wasn't really sure kind of where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to keep skiing. I didn't really know where I was going to get to, or like I kind of plateaued at that level that I mentioned before, and I was that financial commitment to move to that provincial team or even further than that was huge. So I finished that second year with the NCO team, and I was out west for Whistler Springs, or Whistler Spring Series, which is an alpine event. And Brett Phelan actually reached out to me because Britt's also on the team. I had been on the ski cross team for I think 2 years at that point. She switched over from alpine, and she's from Tremblant as well, back east. So she sent me a Facebook message and said, "Hey Jared, what's up?" And I hadn't really talked, like I knew who Britt was, but I hadn't really talked with her much before. And she sent me a message and she said, "Hey, I think you should come out to Sunshine. You're in the west." Like she's like, "I know you're in the west. Come out to Sunshine and try our spring camp, which we do every year." And I was like, "Oh, sweet!" Like I'd heard of ski cross, but I wasn't really sure what it was. So I went out and I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up showing up the week the A team was there, and it was just me, like some alpine guy just showed up, like, and it was like Diener, Brady, Britt, Marielle, Kelsey, everyone was there, all the big names, and I had no idea who any of these people were. Like I'd heard of Brady Lehman before, but obviously he's super successful in the sport of ski cross, and I was just out there in my baggy snow pants and I don't know, like a loose jacket, ripping around, and I did all right. Like it was tough, but it was fun to kind of. I really loved the whole like racing with other people and hitting jumps, and we would just go and play in the park in the afternoon. And I was like, this is kind of sick. Like I don't know what I've been doing with alpine for the past couple of years. I could have been doing this, but yeah, no. Then the following year, I decided I was going to do both. I was going to race alpine and ski cross because I still wasn't in school. I really hadn't decided what I wanted to do with post-secondary. And so that was my plan. And I went out and I raced, I think, 3 or 4 NORAMs that year, ski cross NORAMs. And I was racing FIS races. And I started skiing really well in alpine because it wasn't that I wasn't, like, I didn't care about alpine, but it was kind of, I was doing both. And I started scoring pretty decently in slalom and a little bit in GS. And then I ended up qualifying for World Juniors. And that was the first time I met you. And I was selected as one of the 4 male athletes to go to Italy to compete at World Juniors that year. And then it just kind of spitballed from there. And then following season was full NORAM season. Ended up 3rd or 4th in the NORAM overall standings. Injured my knee. And then I took the following year off because of the injury. And then the past 3 years have been on the World Cup. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I could talk about that for a long time, but yeah, that was pretty cool. It's definitely a really cool. It's cool transitioning over because a lot of those skills that you develop for so long, you spend so much time working on in alpine. You kind of use it's like a backboard you have, like you can rely on your good turning skills in the ski cross. Or like I grew up skiing just a lot of like like ripping around Tremblant, hitting jumps with my friends in between training sessions, and like I know I'm good in the air, so it's cool to have that kind of background or backboard to lean against when you're struggling on something, and you can go, okay, well I'm good at that, and let's work on something else. But it's really cool. Yeah, I love ski cross. It's super fun. Cool to be part of this team.
Yeah, for sure. I remember. So I was at that spring camp when you were there, but I don't think I ever really met you or got introduced to you there.
I don't remember. Like I remember, it's funny. I remember like Diener, and I remember a couple other people there that were like helping me out. Oh, there's a new kid here, he's showing interest. And like, okay, so they helped me out. But I think I remember the team was there, and I think I saw Jason or someone. I don't know, so long ago, I can't remember, and I was overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my god, what's going on?
Yeah, I remember you had this like bright yellow top. Yeah. And you were like 175 pounds, 6'4", with long hair past your shoulders. and a little goatee.
Yeah. It was the same going into like when I first met you in World Juniors.
Yeah.
I remember getting on that plane and like I think I had raced you in Sir Sam's or something. We had a race together that year, but we didn't really know each other. You were with the team, and I was just kind of riding solo and showing up to these races. But I remember showing up to World Juniors, and I'm like, damn, I'm part of the team now. This is sick. And so from then on, it was kind of fun. Yeah, it's good memories.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just to go back there, you said when was it that you blew your knee?
It was the World Juniors year, and then the following NORAM year. I think this is where I get kind of confused. There's a year or two in there where I'm not really sure what happened, but I think it was the year I was just racing NORAMs. Like it was the year when we had that Blue Mountain World Cup. Yeah. I raced that. I think it was that following year. It was that year, and then in the spring I'd done really well at most of the NORAMs, and I think I was leading it by a decent amount, and then we came over to Europe to race some Europa Cups, and I ended up tearing my MCL and lightly damaging my ACL in a race in Riederholm. But yeah, that's a whole nother story we could get talking about. That was a wild ride, and then the whole rehab from that was I kind of took not a laid back approach, but I kind of took a like take my time approach to that, which I thought is really beneficial now, especially because we're racing and training so much that I'm glad I took that full season off just to do. I did school as well. I took 4 or 5 university courses and just rehabbed my knee that season. But it was great to kind of build my strength and put on a little bit of muscle mass heading into what would be my World Cup and then Olympic years, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So explain to us what you're doing in school, because it's actually pretty cool, and I think you have a pretty sweet life outside of ski racing, and yeah, let's hear about that a little bit.
I think we both have pretty sweet lives outside of ski racing.
Yeah, we do. We're pretty cool.
Yeah, we're pretty cool. Yeah, no, I'm in. I go to school in Calgary at Mount Royal University, and I'm taking a Bachelor of Health and Physical Education. But my program is ecotourism and outdoor leadership. So more of the kind of outdoors leading or guiding, I guess you could say, kind of approach to learning in the outdoors. But it's really cool. I've met a lot of really cool people in the program. I live with one of my roommates right now. He wants to be a ski guide, and yeah, the whole program is great. The profs are great. I get to do a lot of really cool things like leading some trips with the university, and we get to some of our courses are like 10-day backpacking expeditions with the profs. So you kind of build a unique relationship with your profs when you get to spend 10 days in the backcountry with them, and then the next semester you see them in class, and you kind of it's more than you're more than just like a number on paper. So it's really cool to have that kind of side of things when I'm not training for skiing or over here racing. It's good to have. I find that balance is really important when it comes to skiing and life in school, because I really draw, like when I'm not skiing, when I'm doing school, I'm kind of like, okay, it's a good balance. I'm not really thinking about skiing because I don't like, I get in my head sometimes a lot about it, and I kind of overwhelm myself with the thought of skiing. And school is that kind of great balance where you can just think about school or just think about the classes or the upcoming trip you have going on, or whether you have a midterm the next week. And then when I come over and I'm racing, it's pretty much for the most part just skiing, which is good. This semester I decided to take 4 courses, which is a little heavy. I had to come over a little later and join the team, but no, I really like the kind of school life or school skiing balance. It's been really good for me, and I think it keeps the brain firing, but you can also fire your muscles and the rest of the body while we're out here charging these courses.
Yeah, the athletic scholar life, I like to call it.
Athletic scholar, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you did it for a little while too, which was kind of cool at the beginning of your World Cup career. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally concur with what you're saying about the that when you're at school, you're thinking about school. When you're skiing, you're thinking about skiing, because that was honestly my like bread and butter when it came to completing the course that I did with as quickly as I did. Yeah. Like when I was at school, that was all I was doing. I was there wrapping up assignments, and sometimes I would be like overloading myself trying to get stuff done early so I could go skiing.
Yeah.
But like when I was doing my diploma, I didn't do a single thing outside of SAIT.
Yeah.
Not a single one. Not at home, not on the road. There's a lot of reasons for that. Big one was for just there was a lot of software in my program that we just didn't have.
Yeah.
And then also I just didn't want to be on the road kind of like half-assing stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just decided that if I'm at school, I'm hammering down, working, so that when I do go away to ski, it's 100%. So success in both places is way easier to be achieved when you're really committing to whatever you're going after. And so I totally get that, and obviously that's why you're being successful in both.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and you can be productive, and like you said, at school. When you're at school, and you build cool relationships at school. I'm sure you met a lot of cool friends in your program that were interested in the same thing, and like I have that kind of core group of friends back home now that they're watching my races, and they're kind of stoked to be like as much like my core group of school friends. They're like involved in my skiing life, but they also are like involved in other things. So it's nice to have that balance and have options to do other things. Like when I'm home, sometimes I'm looking for things to do, and my roommate Justin, like, want to go ice climbing? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want to go ice climbing. Kind of stuff like that. It's cool to have that, to have those kind of resources to bounce off of and different ideas and stuff. But it's really cool. And networking too.
Yeah, for sure. And that age range, like 18 to 22, is kind of a tough time because you're learning so much, and there's a lot of frustration and often failure in athletics because you're kind of getting too old to be like a junior, and you're trying to fight your way into that senior category. And if you were just doing ski cross, the amount of difficulty and frustration and failure you'd be constantly receiving is just difficult when you can go and attack and then come back and have something else to focus on, and like to know, like, as long as you're getting school work done and stuff like that, you're in like the positive realm, right? You're not doing, like, even if you have like a bad race or something, you go back, okay, I'm still crushing out schoolwork. When I have my schooling done, I'm going to have peace of mind for, if skiing doesn't work out, or if I get hurt, I have something else that I can do. Sure. And, I found that was a big reason that I was able to accelerate my ski cross career the way that I did. And
because that year, like when you had your breakout season, the year when you won Nikiska, that fall you were grinding out school. I remember going over to your place. I was doing school as well because I was injured. That was the year I was injured, and I was in 4 courses. And I remember going over to your place, and you'd come off like a week of like 3 exams, and you'd just be bagged. And you'd be like, come over for a couple of beers. Let's just like kind of like debrief the week. And then the next morning, this is even crazier. You'd go out and you'd hunt the next day.
Go chase the weekend warrior trips into Sparwood on the weekends. Yeah, that was a rough, but it was rough, but I enjoyed it so much.
But you feel so good coming out of it.
Oh, for sure.
Like you feel that kind of like as challenging as like all these athletic feats that we're doing are, like the Olympics and all these races and winning globes and stuff. I feel like it's like finishing an exam. Like I finished an exam today, my last final and I was like, hell yeah, I'm done. Like it feels good, that sign of relief. Like when you cross the finish line in a ski cross race and you're like, fuck, I did it.
Oh yeah.
Or sorry, I swore. When you're like, hell yeah, I did it. Yeah. Like I'm done that. Like that was sweet. I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was wild. Like that last semester I was cranking out 5 courses and 5 like wrap up courses with a capstone project that was a very extensive project there, and then I missed 109 hours of class time that year. That'll kill you. And I won a World Cup. Yeah. And then the next day I was in class. Yeah. After that, and you guys were out in Nikiska skiing still.
Yeah, well, I was doing some return to snow stuff, but I remember you posted a photo back to school. And we on your Instagram, it's not on there anymore. You can't find it, but it was a legendary photo. Reese had his glasses on. He was looking a little studious at his computer. Back to school. It's like, yeah, student athlete life. That's it, man. That's it. But that's what it's about, though. I think it's great to to kind of have that balance between the two, and it keeps you healthy, like a peace of mind, and you know that you're not just a great athlete, you're also a great person because you're developing these skills and you have them for life. Like a degree doesn't go away once you have it.
Yeah, no, quote Alex Howden, schooling is the one thing they can't take away from you.
There you go. Yeah,
It's with you for life.
exactly. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yep. And then so when you came out to Calgary and stuff like that, had you had any like really experience on doing like, because I know you guys do so many outdoor trips and stuff like that. And like, did you do any like canoe trips, hiking, climbing, or anything like that before you got out west?
Yeah, so I did. I did a little bit. Obviously, in the east, there's not as much like hiking. There is some hiking, but not like the technical hiking that or like the technical alpine stuff that is available in the west. That's so easily available in the west. But I had a keen interest for canoe trips. I would do a couple of summer, and that kind of started in my I think it was grade 10 outdoor ed class. The teacher was really cool, and I was like, this guy seems like really cool. And then we did our trip in Algonquin Park as a canoe trip, like a 2-night canoe trip, and I was like, that was epic, like that was sweet. So I bought a tent and I bought a bunch of gear, and I was like kind of doing it by myself. I was trying to figure things out, and yeah, kind of got into did a couple canoe trips, did a couple longer canoe trips in Algonquin, which was really cool, and then kind of got more into the I'm not a huge rock climbing guy, but more into the alpine side of things and backcountry skiing side of things when I moved out west, which is really cool because it's so easily available. Like you can drive an hour and a half and be, I don't know, an hour skin track away from a glacier or be on a peak somewhere, and it's so easily available. So definitely not taking it. Yeah, those resources are sweet to have out west, and I've learned so much just in the few years that I've been out, the 4 years I've been out west. Um, Through mentors and just doing it myself sometimes and kind of our group of friends the same group of friends from school is we're all learning together, so we all kind of build off of each other's skill levels, like skiing wise I'm probably one of the better skiers, but the technical skills sometimes it's great to learn from like almost professionals in the industry. Like my roommate Justin, he wants to be a ski guide, so he's always teaching me the new knots and the new ways to look at snowpacks and kind of all those technical skills that I don't necessarily have in my back pocket just because I didn't grow up learning them. But it's really cool to have those connections and be constantly learning. I'm sure you're constantly learning in the backcountry and stuff too. So very very cool. Yeah, definitely have learned a lot more at West than I did back home. But yeah, I'd still love to go back to Algonquin and do a few canoe trips. Beautiful up there.
Do you have any backcountry lessons that you can share with us in story form that you've learned in the backcountry? Yeah.
We did a 2-night overnight we summited Mount Joffrey last spring, and we skied off the summit, and it was really cool, but it was damn cold. Like it was minus 15 at night, and we were 3 guys in one tent. It was a 4-season winter tent, but it was damn cold. Even when you're with 3 guys and it's that cold. So like one of the little tips that I use when it's that cold is I'll just boil water and put in my Nalgene and stick it in the bottom of my sleeping bag, and you got warm toes all night.
Yep.
And you'll take like when it's that cold out and your toes are cold and you sleep shitty, you wake up the next morning and you feel bad. It's horrible, and especially when you're going for like a big summit like Joffrey. I put warm Nalgene in the bottom of my sleeping bag, woke up, I was feeling like $1,000,000, had my coffee, it was good to go. So yeah, definitely little things like that. I'm trying to think of any other technical hard skills, but just small stuff like that makes the bigger stuff more enjoyable.
So what'd you learn on howling when you were climbing that?
To start earlier, yeah, we we climbed Howling Peak last two falls ago. It was my first big alpine climb, and well, I guess not alpine climb, but it was like multi pitch. But Justin, my roommate, was like, "Yeah, come out and climb." And I was like, "Okay, sure." I've never done a multi pitch before. Did a little bit of cragging outdoor climbing, and so I was like, "Sure." It was me, Justin, and our other friend Silas, and we kind of rolled out of Calgary. It was a lazy morning. Rolled out at 10 a.m. and got into Canmore, had a coffee, bagel, we're living like luxury life, and we're like, okay, let's go up. We can go up, do the approach. I think we started climbing at like 12 or 1. And with 3 guys, it's a lot harder to kind of bounce off each other. When you're 2, you can just go lead, second guy comes up, anchor, whatever, and you just bounce off each other. When you're 3, you got to go lead, middle guy, and then bottom guy, and you all got to be at the same anchor, and then you keep going. So it was 11 pitches, and we were finishing at 9 p.m., and it was dark, and we didn't have headlamps, and it was cold and windy at the top, but we got it done. It was just not the greatest conditions. Like, I don't think I've ever climbed in like almost darkness, and when it's that dark and you can't see kind of where you're placing your hands and feet, and you're almost near the top of Haling, and you're looking down between your legs at Canmore, like the lights of Canmore. It's a little spooky, but it was definitely an experience, and you learn from those experiences. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
Start earlier.
Start early. Bring a headlamp.
Yeah.
Or two.
But yeah, no, it's and you learn from. I think Justin's got a quote that says, "Bad decisions make good stories." I think that's a good one. In some occasions, right? Like, you know, obviously not all bad decisions make good stories, but sometimes they make for funny ones.
And lessons learned, bad decisions, big time.
Exactly. Great stories to tell.
Yeah, a lot of people out there learning the hard way in the Kananaskis area.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a cool area for kind of all outdoors things, and I'm definitely lucky to be living in Calgary and have that right at my doorstep.
All right, perfect. Well, we're sitting at 30 minutes right now, which is kind of where I've been trying to cut these off at, but I think that was good. There's definitely a lot more left for Jared to talk about, but now you guys all know who Jared is, and we can go on from there.
Well, thanks for having me, Reese.
Well, you're my roommate, so.
Exactly. I didn't know our beds are right over there. So.
Thank you for watching, guys, and wish us luck in Innikin next World Cup.
Should be good. Fired up. Good race. And then Christmas, go home, see the family, and relax a little bit, and then come back over and do it again.
Go do some sledding and powskiing.
Yeah. Turkey dinner.
Oh, yeah. All right. We're out.